Hi everyone, welcome to SINFO, the fourth day, the games day. To start off strong, let's begin with Anran Li, an engineering manager from Riot Games. I hope you enjoy your talk.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anran, and I'm here to talk about lessons that I learned from building my dream career as an engineer in video games. So who am I? I'm a developer and an engineer with 10 years of experience. I'm currently an engineering manager and a product lead at Riot Games working on their upcoming fighting game, 2XKO. I started off my career at Microsoft helping build the Halo games. I helped ship Halo 5, Halo Wars 2, and worked a little bit on Halo Infinite. And then I also worked at Twitch, where I built subscriptions, bits, emotes, and esports. This is also where I became an engineering manager. In my free time, I like to give back to the community, the tech and gaming community, especially with women and underrepresented minorities. So I spend a lot of my time mentoring with nonprofit organizations and schools. And I also like to give talks with the hopes of helping others reach their career goals. So there's a photo of me at San Diego Comic-Con where I was on a panel. So here, let me first give you an overview of the lessons as told in RPG terms. So first of all, think about the macro. So really figure out what you want to do in your career. Also, focus on leveling up your craft, which is just really honing your skills. Additionally, build your party, so network and find allies, mentors, and sponsors. And then don't be afraid to make that game-changing play and pursue your passions. And last of all, good luck and have fun because you get to work in video games. So let me talk about my origin story a little bit. So my biggest inspiration was my father. He was a software engineer and the one that introduced me to computer science and video games. I was privileged enough to have a computer and some gaming consoles growing up. He introduced me to an RPG game called Chinese Paladin that we played together. Some of my other favorites are Pokemon Silver on the Game Boy Color, as well as Maple Story. Here's like an image of me looking for my favorite thing to do, which is like party quests. Since I was also privileged enough to have a computer growing up, I was able to kind of put some early stats into my programming skill tree. So in middle school, I started coding on blogging sites by customizing templates, such as on MySpace or Zynga, using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Another thing I like to bring up is, here's the first lesson. So we want to think about the macro here. So at an early age, I kind of figured out what my passion was, which is video games and building technology, and then figuring out what kind of skills I have to level up. So coding, computer science, things like that. Then let me talk about the tutorial, or how formal school kind of helped me build confidence and my engineering skills. So first, I had to build up my constitution stat, which means endurance and stamina, which has really helped me persevere in this challenging and male-dominated industry. So in high school, I took my first computer science class. And to be honest, I had no idea what I was doing. Even though I had an early start to coding, computer science is really challenging. So definitely don't give up. After hours of kind of hard work, one day it kind of just clicked for me. Another challenge was my computer science class actually only had 2 women out of a class of 30. My computer science teacher at the time was a woman, and she did this, what I thought was a really cool thing. So she kind of highlighted folks that got the top test scores every test. And basically, us 2 women would consistently get the top test scores. And then so it helped me feel like I belonged, and it didn't really make me feel like I was left out. Another thing I got to do was really decide what to build for our class projects. And as a passionate gamer, I always chose to make a game. So here's like a 2D food drop game where I used just the basic like Java Swing package that helps you build GUIs inside of a Java applet. And then I also applied and got into some summer camps for coding and games. And here I built like a puzzle platformer where you move around these chutes and ladders to move the food into the boy's mouth. This was built using a Greenfoot IDE, which kind of helps like make video game development a little bit easier. So all of these experiences kind of helped me overcome adversity, explore my creativity, and then kind of constantly learn and kind of build up my constitution stat. So next, I kind of upgraded my wisdom stat. So after high school, I applied to and eventually graduated from the University of California, Berkeley with a degree in electrical engineering and computer science. I gained a lot of wisdom here, which was just intuition and experience with coding and computer science. And looking back, these are some of the courses I found the most useful. So data structure, software engineering, and particularly if you have a project class where you get to actually work hands-on with other folks and build a app of your own, databases, networking, intro to AI, and security. Lastly, in college, I also joined multiple clubs, and this helped me build my charisma stat, which was like leadership capabilities and planning. I was an officer in esports at Berkeley, and as well as the Society of Women Engineers, and as well as many other clubs. On top of that, they're just really fun and things that I really care about, so I was glad I did them. So the lesson here is to focus on leveling up your craft. Definitely learn your craft, computer science really well. And don't be afraid to explore your creativity through passion projects. I got to learn kind of game design, a little bit art, audio design, through all those other side projects, and then also take on leadership responsibilities. So now I'm going to talk about how I joined my first games guild, which means how I got my first job in games. Basically, I was an officer in a women in computer science club. And then due to that, my university invited me to attend the Grace Hopper Conference for Women in Computing. There, I actually met and built some personal connections with some recruiters at Microsoft. Even though they had come to my school's career fair before, you just get a little bit more of an intimate setting, and just getting to know someone is really important. And then they invited me to interview for their internship program. And then with all my knowledge that I gained through school and my data structures class, I passed. So for my second year summer, I ended up interning on the OneDrive team, previously known as SkyDrive. There I built live tile notifications for Windows 8.1. So what that means is on Windows, whenever you update your OneDrive, a notification will pop up. And this was built end-to-end using C++ and C#. And since I did a great job at my first internship, they gave me a return offer. However, I told them, hey, I really kind of just want to work in games. Do you have anything in your Xbox division? However, it was kind of a risk to do this because I actually had to give up my return offer. But since my recruiter knew I did a really good job the previous summer, he really liked me. He was like, here, let me help you out. I'll look around. Luckily, a lot of my skill sets and, they saw that my passion projects were in games. The Halo team wanted to interview me. And luckily, I got the internship. So I returned my second year at Microsoft on the Halo team. And these were my fellow interns at the time. So I spent my next summer working on a tool for Halo 4 and Halo 5. Basically, it helps designers visualize the distribution of player skill and other gameplay stats. So the lesson here is to build your party. So definitely network with your peers through whether it's clubs, conferences, or if you're already working day-to-day work. And also be nice and network with the recruiters as well. And then lastly, kind of build trust. So once you do a really good job, at your club or at work, folks will want to sponsor you for future opportunities. The other lesson here is don't be afraid to make that game-changing play. So even though it was a risk for me to give up my return internship, but it was really worth it in the end because I got to follow my passion and then land a job in what I'm passionate about. So next I'm going to talk about leveling up, so growing my skills at a full-time job. So since I had a great time working at my internship on Halo, I decided to come back to Microsoft for a full-time position. And I helped the team ship Halo 5, Halo Wars 2, and worked a little bit on Halo Infinite as well. So I want to talk a little bit about different interesting projects I got into, which I want to call quests. So one interesting project was helping designers redo the Spartan armor colors. Originally, we had a set about 60 colors, and they wanted to shrink that into about 30 different colors. And the solution here was actually to convert each of these colors into vectors, and then using matrix math to transform this, the color from like one color space into the closest color in the other color space. I just thought this was really cool because I never thought I'd use linear algebra again after school, and it's like, yeah, a lot of this is really useful for graphics. And then don't be afraid because you'll get a lot of help during work. A lot of folks pointed to me like, hey, I think it's this algorithm. I did a bunch of research and then eventually figured it out. Another cool project I got to work on was matchmaking and A/B testing. So one thing that we do is we start new players at kind of like the average skill band. However, new players, if intuitively we're kind of like, they're probably not as good as an average player. And then we wanted to test this hypothesis. So I got to drive this project and lead a team of engineers. So my team was the skill and stats team. I also worked with the senior engineer on the lobby searching team as well as on business intelligence. I architected how our systems connected and also then led the team, divided up the tasks, ran planning to make sure everything was going on time. And in the end, we were able to validate our hypothesis and also run a lot more tests on the system. But basically we did find that new players are not as good as the average player. And in fact, if we had them start off at a slightly lower rating, then they actually have a better long-term experience and a long-term retention. And so due to this recent project, that's actually how I ranked up and got a promotion. So the lessons here is like first, one, learn how to work. Like I said, a lot of what this is like figuring out what a design for a feature is, the technical design, writing it down, chatting with folks, making sure you're on the right track, tasking it out, making sure you complete your work on time, as well as how to work on a team. So my experience leading and successfully leading a team was a great contribution. And in general, promotions are often based on craft competency, so the depths, how good are you at coding or designing a system, scope, how big of a problem is it, ownership, are you the point person or are you just someone who's supporting, and as well as impact, what was the end user experience. Another kind of cool project I got to work on was the tournament API. So this was actually something I built for the company Hackathon. I was an avid fan of esports and noticed that for Halo tournaments, organizers had to manually pull stats after the game. My team kind of owned a lot of those stats features, and if you just play an online game, they're calculated right at the end of the game, and they're uploaded automatically to the cloud, and you can check it on the website. However, esports tournaments are played offline. So I thought, hey, what if as soon as you finish the game, we connect it to a computer and are able to upload it? Additionally, can we supplement that experience by building out a bracketing system and having stats automatically connected to that as well? And then my manager did something that was really So basically, the hackathon project turned out to be a great hit, and then I wanted to productionize it. And I went to my manager with this, right? And he did this really cool thing where instead of telling me yes or no, he was like, hey, can you figure out what the player value is, what the development cost would be, and what would be, who would you need to talk to get this approved, and to write it down. So I wrote a proposal, and through writing that proposal, I realized, hey, this would actually take like months and months of dev time, and it would save maybe like a couple of minutes per game for the esports organizer. So this might be something that we don't necessarily need to tackle right now. But I still wrote a proposal, and I kind of like shopped it around folks across the stats team, across esports, across the website, and I really got my name out there so much that the executive producer of Halo knew who I was. And then by the end of this, even though the project didn't end up shipping, you know, if I ran into him or others in the coffee room, they'll be like, hey, Anran, what are you up to? So actually, due to a lot of this, I got the experience of working on Halo Wars 2 as my next project. So this game project was spinning up, and due to all the connections I made, I was kind of a top candidate to go to this team instead of staying on for Halo 5 and just building further features for that. And then I actually got the opportunity to lead and build everything that my team owned, from like the end of game to career stats, the inventory, and store. So the lessons here are to build your party. So here I really thought about how I can help someone else, like someone on the esports team, and then to build trust and create sponsors. So really shopping my proposal around, telling them I care. They ended up being sponsors for me when Halo Wars 2 came around. The other thing to do is to not be afraid to make that game-changing play. So once again, follow what you're passionate about. For me, it was esports, and to learn from these setbacks. So even though I didn't get to ship this project, I learned a lot about you know, what a development process is, what a good feature would look like, what a good feature would kind of pass our pipeline. And then after a while working on Halo, I ended up making the decision to switch guilds, or I changed jobs to another company. So development on Halo Infinite was ramping up, and it was then that I learned that there was going to be multiple years until it launched. Additionally, the team really needed help mostly in the engine space. So they were asking folks across the studio whether they wanted to become art tooling engineers. So once again, I went back to thinking about the macro, and I figured out what skills I wanted to level up. For me, I actually mostly wanted to focus on feature and product development so that the things that the end user would see. I also figured out what culture or environment I wanted to work in. And since I felt like I was still pretty early in my career, I actually wanted to just rapidly ship products and features and learn a lot. So in general, here's a call out to figure out what elements of a job matters most to you. For me, it was skills I want to level up and the culture. And this eventually brought me to working at Twitch. So the first project I tackled there was actually exactly what I was looking for. After 3 weeks of joining, we ended up shipping my first feature. So we built holiday emotes where the product is, it's granting you exclusive emotes if you subscribe or cheer during a certain time period. Like I said, it was done end-to-end in 3 weeks. I learned a lot about new technologies such as queuing and notification systems, and as well as load testing and preparing for production level traffic. I also got to work on the Overwatch League integration. So here I led the team to build out a global progression track. So whenever folks subscribed to the channel or cheered bits, it would globally take a progression track and help unlock cosmetics in Overwatch, like Blizzard's game. We also built the All Access Pass, which unlocked things like the multi-view camera, where you can kind of customize what view you want to see, swap in like which player's perspective you wanted to see. So I ended up tech designing a lot of these systems, like creating the front end for swapping multiple streams and a service for gating access behind the All Access Pass. I also got to work on the Twitch Prime feature, which is if you are subscribed to Amazon Prime, you can give a free subscription to your favorite streamer. In particular, I worked on combining the databases behind the scenes between Twitch and Amazon, so we can analyze how many Prime users retained. And then I had to do things for the first time, like figure out what an ETL pipeline is. That's extract, transform, and load, and help build these jobs was kind of like no prior experience, since this is usually what a data engineer does. I also, due to my kind of technical leadership across the previous projects, I got the opportunity to have my first intern. So this is Wendy. And for her summer project, I ended up actually picking what she got to work on. So I scoped out the project, the bits usage history, where we kind of query your previous database transactions to see your recent purchase and sharing history. And the goal here was to do something front end and back end, as well as ship something within the couple of months that she has with us. And ultimately, she was successful. She learned and ramped up on our tech and was able to ship this publicly facing feature that's like live on the website today. Another kind of project I worked on was checkout improvements. So this was actually a collection of several projects that we did to increase the checkout experience and efficiency. So I led a team with a product manager, a data analyst, a UX designers, and an engineer, and we brainstormed and also rapidly shipped. It ended up being 13 features over the course of a quarter. So some of these projects were just reiterating that, hey, your subscription actually helps and contributes to the streamer. Adding additional payment methods out besides just credit cards and PayPal, and creating one-click checkout. Next I'll talk about how I became a guild officer or became an engineering manager. So the lessons here are to level up your craft. So like I said, continue to learn and also kind of learn new crafts. I had a few forays where I had to go outside of my comfort zone, learn things that are more what data engineers do, learn things that have never been done before, like multiple streaming. And then the other thing is to also improve your mentorship and leadership skills. So those are especially important if you ever want to become a manager. And then the kind of ultimate lesson here is role changes usually happen once you've met the expectations for that role. So since I've had experience and also proven that I can grow folks, I can lead a team, I can create ambiguous projects, that's kind of how I ended up becoming a manager. So after I became a manager, a lot of my projects were more kind of like, how do I build a team? So I got the opportunity to kind of hire and onboard my own team, whether that's kind of like improving our interview pipeline, evaluating folks for interviews, and things like that. So I feel like I did a really successful job here. I built a really well-rounded team where definitely everyone met the technical bar, but then folks brought different additional complementary traits. So some of that might be, hey, they're especially a strong communicator with non-technical folks like designers. Some others might be great at thinking about projects from a user perspective, or others might be great at building tools that kind of accelerate everyone's workflow. One other feature I got to lead as part of my experience at Twitch was iOS subscriptions. So back in the day, Apple only supported subscriptions to a website like Netflix or YouTube Premium. But at Twitch, you subscribe to a specific streamer, so you might have hundreds of subscriptions for this one website. And before this capability was built, we got around it by having sub-tokens. So you kind of purchase tokens, and then you use them on streamers' channel. But of course, that's not as good as actually building subscriptions, where it kind of continues your support month over month. So what we did is we actually worked with Apple and helped build out their billing capabilities. Then I led a team across our mobile, payments, and subscriptions team to launch iOS subscriptions. During this process, I learned a lot about how to work with first party, which is Apple, as well as the mobile development cycle. So eventually, after a long time of working at Twitch, I once again decided to switch guilds or change jobs to another company. So Twitch grew a lot as an organization while I was there, from my teams being around 5 engineers to kind of like multiple teams of engineers working on the same project. And I kind of also wanted to go back to my roots of building games for players. So I once again thought about the macro. So the call out here is to figure out what culture and environment you want to work in. For me, I actually realized I really enjoy smaller team environments because I got to work on bigger parts of the product or game, and also figure out what type of product you like working on, which for me, it was games. So that brought me to Riot Games, where the company mission kind of fits perfectly, because the mission is to make it better to be a player. I started off my journey in R&D. It's an unannounced project, so I can't go too much into the details, but I led the engineering team for their around game meta game systems features. And I learned a lot about the R&D lifecycle. For example, you'll start with brainstorming, like we want to build an outfit wardrobe. And then we go into building it, reviewing it, which usually means playtesting, and then rapidly iterating. Got the experience to see playtesting from like a daily standpoint, where honestly, yeah, we play games. I play my game every day at Riot. But also testing with small user groups or larger kind of alpha tests. I also learned a lot about chartering a team. So I led a team that wasn't just engineers, but it was working across the whole, a bunch of game devs in different crafts. For example, my team, the round game team, needs game designers that are metagame system designers, UX designers. We need engineers that are client systems engineers, UI engineers, services engineers, tools engineers. Unfortunately, after a couple years on this team, my project was shut down. However, I got the opportunity to explore a different dungeon. For me, this is actually just changing teams at the same company. So what ended up happening was that I actually got several offers. I was talking to around 5 different teams at Riot at the time that my game spun down. For example, I had worked closely and built trust with teams on central matchmaking, production services. I had kind of community of practice meetup groups with other engineering managers across League and Valorant. The lesson here is to definitely build your party with folks across your network. And then don't be afraid to ask for help, because when that happened, I ended up getting a bunch of recommendations to work on their team. And then ultimately, I ended up picking the 2XKO team because I wanted to help Riot ship its next game. My skills also transitioned nicely, whereas previously leading the round game team, and I'll be doing a similar thing on 2XKO. So my first kind of quest there was helping them launch the Alpha Lab playtest. So that was a playtest last fall. It was open to around 300,000 players. You have to apply and get approved. But in particular, I helped them set up live operations, which included load testing to make sure that we can handle these hundreds of thousands of players, preparing engineers for the on-call process so they can triage and act on incidents, and also creating dashboards and automatic alerts. So Alpha Lab went super smoothly without any major technical issues. And then since I had proven myself on this team and there was a need on my team for a product lead, they actually then asked me to take on this role. So I added responsibilities as a product lead. So once again, the lessons here are to think about the macro. The reason I ended up taking the product lead role in addition to being an engineering manager is because I really thought about what skills I wanted to level up. My goal right now is to eventually build my own video game, whether it's like at Riot through their R&D process or perhaps being an indie developer in the future. And I thought that just learning more about the product side would help. And then once again, don't be afraid to make that game-changing play. So this is kind of a risk because I have no formal background in product management, but don't be afraid and be confident in the skills that you're able to pick up and learn. So one of the biggest focuses for me right now is actually like the main menu redesign. So currently our flow is not super friendly across different peripherals. Our main menu was designed with mouse in mind. And as you know, fighting game players mainly use controllers or other peripherals like hitboxes and fight sticks. So I'm currently working with our UX designers to figure out a different main menu where if you're constrained to just like left, right, up, down, maybe bumpers, how that would flow easily for our game. And this is kind of where we are right now. So the last lesson I want to leave you with is to remember to have fun. So good luck, have fun. Basically, take the time and enjoy the creativity of working on video games. Definitely enjoy the vibrant and diverse community. Enjoy this launches or celebration kind of beats that you'll end up having, and then definitely play a lot of games. So I want to share some photos from my experience. So these are some team events that I've been to. We did curling. We, at some point, rented out an arcade where we played arcade games, but also like the claw machines. I hosted a keycap making workshop where folks got to mold and build their own keycaps. I got to go to a lot of conferences and conventions. So for example, this first photo is from Evo. I got to see Lily Pichu play Tekken against the creator of Tekken, Harada, on stage. The second photo is from TwitchCon, where some of my coworkers were showcasing bounty boards, which is the feature that they were working on. And then this last photo is actually from last week. I got invited to attend the DICE conference and awards. And then launch parties are definitely super fun. So the first one is from the Halo 5 launch party with Bonnie Ross, who's the head of Halo, and Phil Spencer. Here's a celebration from the Valorant console release. And then Arcane, all the rioters got to preview Arcane before everyone else and kind of enjoy it in like a nice movie theater setting. And then last of all, playing games. A lot of times we're playing games at the Riot office. We have these like Mario Kart machines. And then otherwise, we also enjoy playing video games with fans at conferences like Evo. So once again, I want to highlight the lessons that I was talking about. So 1, think about the macro, really figure out what you want in your career. 2, level up your craft, so own your skills. 3, build your party, network and find allies, mentors, and sponsors. 4, make that game-changing play, so definitely pursue your passions. And then 5, good luck, have fun. Obrigado. Yeah, thank you.